If you've ever wondered where true anglers go when they dive, then this is it. One of the weir pools on the River Kennet. One of my favourite rivers, it really is. And you can see why. What I hope to do over the next 2 days is catch as many different species as possible. Barbel, chub, pike, perch, roach, whatever I can in the next 2 days. I'm just going to try and get bites, and I'm going to introduce you to river fishing in general. Let's take a look at the weir pool. If we look straight down the weir pool, we can see that the main River Kennet comes down here. It pushes out into the centre. But slightly to the right is the flow, what we call the crease. And that is being formed by those two outlets there, which is actually from the trout farm. That water is pumped upstream into the trout farm and then pumped out there. That is a fantastic holding spot for barbel. If we look farther down in the slightly quieter water, that's where the chub and roach will hold. And there'll also be some good perch and pike. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make this as natural as possible by putting some boilies and some hemp to try and catch a few barbel. We'll throw them in here, it'll just go over the weir, it'll settle in the white water, and that's where the barbel are at the moment. The river's very low, there's not much oxygen in there, and the most oxygen in the river is that white water. So let's make it as natural as possible. I'll show you how to put the bait in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these boilies right on the sill of the weir pool, just like this. There you go. And those boilies will go straight over the ledge, straight into the white water. These are Esterberry, Richworth Esterberry boilies. They love these boilies, probably next to Tutti Frutti. They've probably caught more barbel and chub than any other boilie. Middies or minis are my favourite rather than the 18 and 20 mil larger boilies that we use for the carp. There you go, over the ledge. And I'm also going to put some hemp in. I'll just sling that over the side like so, into the water, and that also will go over the ledge. There you go. No more natural than you can get. Look at that. In it goes, over the weir pool, and those fish now will be seeing that come naturally into the water. They'll be sitting there, hopefully within the next half an hour, next hour, those fish will be finding those baits. I'm going down the weir pool, I'm going to cast up into the weir pool and hopefully catch those barbel. We catch a couple of barbel and then we'll move and try and catch another species. Let's go and catch a few fish. Now if you remember, we put the bait so it's just coming over the sill into that white water. So let's cast right into there. And always remember that if you don't cast into there, reel it back in and cast again. A word or a sentence that I don't like, that will do, doesn't work for catching fish. That will do is just not good enough. It's got to be smack on. Let's see if we can do it. Straight into the white water. Straight into the white water. That's crack on. That's not nearly right, that's smack on right. I'm keeping the rod fairly high up because I want to keep out of this flow to save the lead being pulled out of position. As soon as it gets pulled out of position, those chub and barbel are not down there, they're up there. Now it's obvious they're eating lots of food. I'll just put, every time I catch a fish, I'll put a handful of Esterberry boilies in. Okay, make sure they go there, straight into the white water. There you go. Even some of them went right onto the sill, but it doesn't matter. They're coming straight into the white water. That's where they are. The takes are incredible on this rig because they're putting the mouth around the boilie and they're hooking themselves and the tip will go straight over. There's no doubt about a bite. There's no little flicks and dabs. This is straight over. What I tend to do when I'm fishing this method is I tend to fish with the anti-reverse on, but with the clutch fairly loose, you see? And then when I get a take, they're actually hooking themselves on everything. The reel handle doesn't go round. Then I pick the rod up, strike, and sometimes I'll play on the clutch, sometimes I'll play back one. It depends on what the fish is doing. I tend to start off on the clutch, bring it halfway across on the clutch, and then when the fish tends to get in close, I switch it over and go on to backwind. I find backwind when a fish is in close, especially on very shallow water like this, is probably the best way to play these fish. So in the striking position, I've got the anti-reverse on. So all I need to do is just pick the rod up. There's no need to be hanging onto the rod every second, because those bites will be absolutely enormous when I have a bite. Okay, there's a fish touching that. Chub or a barbel. That's a barbel. It's powering away, that's a barbel. Look at that. There he is. Oh, come on my beauty. Well, that just about proves the old barbel of the estuary. Come on, are you ready? Yes, she is. Come on, not quite. Come on, my old son. Look at that. Boiley's on his nose, look. Look at the boiley on his nose. Ah, there you go. A beautiful Kennet barbel. And absolute, look at the fin. Perfect fin, a perfect fish. And the boilie on his nose as well. Look at the boilie on his nose. That's how he picks it up, and that's how he gets caught. Come and have a closer look at the rig. All it is a big Ardsley bomb, 1.5 ounces, that I've flattened with a hammer. That actually holds the bottom better, so it doesn't move around. I want to do the moving round. When I lift the rod, it'll move rather than just keep tripping. I got a rubber bead, a swivel. This is 8-pound line. This is 6-pound line coming down to my hair rig. And the hair rig's pretty straightforward. There it is. Size 8 hook with a boilie on the end. Look at that. When he picks it up, what's he get? He gets the hook and he's hooked, look. Can't pick that boilie up without being hooked. Let's sling it out again and see if we can catch another one. A lot of fish out there in the swim. I'm getting a lot of line bites. Don't strike at those little tiny bites, because on this rig they're hooking themselves, and if you start striking, you've got every chance that you're going to foul hook a fish. When that rod bends over, I'm just getting, look at that, liners all the time. Keeps touching. Some's the current, then there's a sharp dig as the pecks or the dorsal get caught on the line, and they're moving around, picking the estuary boilies up, searching for the hemp and the boilies that I've put in. Moving all around the swim, and when they move around the swim, they'll keep hitting the line. It won't be long before we get another take. Now that has got me in the weed. Let's just see if that, let me just give it a bit of slack line first. Take the line off it, then wind down quickly and see if he moves. No, he's actually got me solid. That's not in weed, that's actually in a snag. Solid. He's come out. I've got him. That bit of slack line. That bit of slack line, and I tighten back up, and away we go. This fish is finding every bit of weed. I thought it may be a chub. You can guarantee that if they find snags or find weed, it's a decent chub. Look at that, a lovely, lovely chub. A cracker, look at that. Look at it, gone in the weed again. Not this time, pal, you're mine. Look at that, a beautiful chub. Ah, that is what river fishing's all about. For me, I love my carp fishing, I love my pike fishing, but to me, that is the most fantastic sight of all. A nice big river chub. Look at that for a fish, folks. Ah, lovely. Let's see where it is. Look at that. Took it straight in, you see it? There you go. Took the boilie, sweet as a nut. What a beautiful fish. That's over 4 pounds. That's a bonny fish. Look at the classic lines of the chub. Beautiful. This is going to be a big fish in the winter. This is probably the lightest they are at the moment. In the summer they've spawned, but now September they're just starting to put a bit of weight on. You see the stomach there? They're just starting to put a bit of weight on. These fish will be 4.5, 5 pounds in just a few weeks' time. Let's put that back in the net. Beautiful fish. And I'm going over the backwater and see if we can catch some chub on the bread there. It's a very small stream. It'll give you an idea how to catch chub in a very small stream on the bread. Let's get over there and catch a few fish. What I've done now is I've come to the backwater off the weir, which is a very tiny side stream of the main river, and hopefully I'm going to show you how to use the bread to catch the chub. I've pulled the middle out of a piece of bread and I'm just putting them into little bits, and I'm going to prime the swim. Then I'm going to set my tattle up and we'll have a go then. So let's just see what happens. Keep quiet, keep well concealed, and we'll catch a chub. Let's show you the tattle. Now comes probably the simplest way of fishing of all. I've designed a bag that's got a pad on the back that I just take off to sit on. I've got my bait, which is the bread. I've got my landing net, and then the rod, 6 pound line, with the simplest, the very simplest of rigs. Look at this, 6 pound line direct, a size 6 super specialist hook. We've made sure it's sharp, with 2 swan shots just pinched on there about 3 inches away. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put a piece of crust on there like so. Just hook it on through, bring it back, and all that will do is, imagine when that's on the bottom, that will sit up like that, and when you move it, it'll just waver around in the current, and silly old chub loves it. Now let's put it to the test and go and catch some chub. What I'm doing now is I'm just dunking the bread into the water to give it more weight. Okay, and then we're going to just cast down through there. Beautiful, there we go. Now let's see if we can catch a fish. Quiver tip rod. Just add a little nudge and I'll just pull it up. Sometimes doing that will make it go round. Just nudging the bait. Sometimes pulling the bait just away from it, but that was definitely a little touch. Whether it was a fish actually touching the line or whether it was actually fish mouthing the bait, it doesn't matter. That means there's a fish nearby. Straight away, look, there you go. Trying for the roots, but I'm not going to let him get there. It's a good fish. I'm not going to let him get there. Come on, my beauty. Look at this fish. Yes. The old bread. Look at that. First, second chuck in. Look what we've got. Old chubbaroonie. Come on, my old friend. There you go. Whee. Not a big fish, but as you can see, an absolutely fantastic method how to catch chub. There it is, look. Hook straight in the corner of the mouth. Swan shot there to be seen. What a lovely fish. One of my favourite fish. Look at that. The method shows again. Does the business. What I've done there is I've taken the chub upstream, I've put him in the weed and left him there, so I haven't put it back in the swim. I'm not going to use a keep net. It's much too shallow to use a keep net. So what I've done is I've dropped the chub back in up there. I'm going to put some more bread in again now and see if I can get another one. Some people actually make a mash, and they'll mash a loaf up and put a huge amount of bread in. And to be honest, that does work. But in small rivers like this, and this has been fished for chub quite regular, one of the things that does spook chub off is a great big cloud of bread coming down. So what I tend to do is, more often than not now, I'll do this. Just pinch that bread, give them a few pieces, they get used to what they're taking, and then plop one on the hook. And as you saw by that last episode, bang, you're in. Just going to lift that bread, just move it like so, and then put it back down. Those reeds make an absolute smashing rod wrist. Look at that. Lovely. I don't use rod wrists normally in this situation, because at the end of the day, to put a rod wrist in, you normally frighten every fish. If you're fishing this close, by the time you've put a rod wrist in, you've frightened every fish about 100 yards down the river. Well, that fish that I had seems to have spooked the rest, which is fairly typical. It's summer conditions, it's low, the river's low, I hook a fish, I play it, I do the usual sort of John Wilson type yee-hee, and there you go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move upstream or downstream, have a look at a few pegs and see if we can get one more chub, just to show how lethal this method can be. But remember that in the winter, when there's 2 foot on and it's coloured, this method, even with the mash or with this single pieces like I've done, will produce 4, 5, 6 chub out of one peg, because obviously they can't see you in the coloured water. So don't forget this, and don't just class it as a summer method. This will catch chub all year round. It's one of the best methods for big chub you could use. Let's go and see if we can find some more. Oh, this is an incredible situation to get a fish. Can you see it over by the trees? Not a big fish. Oh, this should be interesting how I get this fish, to say the least. I'm going in, I'm afraid. There you go. That just shows that even in the most dodgiest swims that this method works. You can make that bread work under the trees. There's some good chub under there. This is not one of the big ones, admittedly, but it could quite have easily have been. well worth the effort. A lovely chub, again on the bread. What a method. A lot of people ask, where should you put the reel? To be perfectly honest, I always put mine high up. I have a short butt. I see a lot of barbel anglers and a lot of anglers using incredibly long butts. I don't know why that is. I think that's come from the carp world where long casting has to be done. In this situation, I like a short butt because I want to be able to get that butt in front of my body in a situation where I'm playing a fish one way, then playing a fish the other. If there's a great long handle, all it does is get in the way of the body or get into the overgrowth. The undergrowth, not the overgrowth. So what we'll do now, we'll set up. Now what you've got in this rod is actually quite a through action, as you can see, but quite a powerful rod. When it comes down to the butt, okay, I've got a nice action there, but what I've got is plenty of power down at the bottom. So there's the tip going round, but what I've got at my end, right down here, is a stiffer butt. Very simple rig. I'm doing nothing sort of special. I see all sorts of Christmas tree rigs, and you know, I have a job working them out. I catch so many barbel on just simple rigs. Just a plain lead on the line, then the bead on, and then I usually tie a grinner knot. This is one of the most important things, and remember that when you're tying a knot, take it very, very slowly. 4, 5 turn grinner. Pull it down very, very slowly. Don't rush knots. This is the thing that all of it relies on. After all the gear that you've bought, thousands of pounds worth of gear, it's all reliant on this one knot. Wet it down slowly, pull it down, no rush. There you go, that's a secure knot. That's going to land anything in the river. Any spare line, remember to take it home. There you go. There's that bead. I don't cut it close. I just put it there, and then I push the bead over. It protects the knot, and that's perfect. Then the lead comes down onto that, like so, and away you go. Dead simple rig. Now, with that, I'm going to put that straight into the meat, which I'll show you in the swim, and that will cover the hook completely, which will make it virtually snack-proof. As I say, on the hair rig, with the hook bare, what you do in this situation, you catch the bottom a lot, and also if you're casting near trees with a bare hook, it just catches up on the tree, where if the hook is covered with meat, then you can actually hit the branches sometimes and it just pull it off because the hook isn't bare. I've got my swim nicely laid out, comfortable. That's one of the main things. I haven't got to get up and start messing around on the bank. I can be nice and quiet, do everything I want to do without frightening the fish. What I tend to do with this is, there you go, I'm just breaking off a bit of meat. Now what I do with this is, because I'm not using a hair rig, I use soft meat, because I'm going to actually put the hook straight into the meat, and I want it to pull out fairly easily. With the tough meat, the Van den Hine strawberry or the Van den Hine spice, you can actually side hook it, just hook it like that, and it's so tough that it actually holds like that. But as I said, in this river, I try to bury the hook. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it straight the way in there, straight the way in, right? Twist it, and that's it. Now what I'm going to do next is, I always play, in most situations, barbel on the clutch, and what I'm going to do is now set this clutch. I'm going to set it fairly stiff. I don't want the fish, as I hook it, to actually take me around the bend, so it's fairly stiff, and I can tighten that up. That's 8-pound line. I can tighten that up if the fish is taking too much line. down on the rest. That's settled nicely in the peg. As I say, just lift up, let it trundle round. Sometimes that can make all the difference. Make all the difference. The bait is stationary, the fish is looking at the bait, and suddenly you just move the bait and bang, he's got it. That can make the difference in a barbel taking the bait. I've watched them in very shallow water sometimes. They can actually sit by the bait for 5 and 10 minutes and they don't take the bait. But that just slight movement like that can make the difference in that. I think it's like a cat. He thinks it's going to move and bang, he's got it. So let's just sit here a while now and see if we can get a pull. Come on, my beauty. Come on. Come on, my beauty. A cracking bite. Cracking bite. I've just changed the rig slightly. I've just changed the rig slightly so it rolls round even more. Just changed into backwind. I sometimes change into backwind when fish are close in. It's not a big fish, but it'll do us. The power of these fish are unbelievable. I mean, pound for pound, they're the best fighting fish in the country. Better than carp by a long, long way. Look at this. Nearly ready. Here she comes, she's not far away now. Typical barbel. Whoa, and there we go. Look at that. Whoa, a beautiful bronze beauty. Look at that. Look at that for a fish. Not a big fish. Onto the thing and out with the hook. There you go. Not a big fish, but a barbel. Now the reason I've selected this spot is because I'm off the main weir, and although this is a mini weir, I've got a lot less flow. And I think perch tend to go for those areas that have got not so much a powerful flow. We caught the chub and we caught the barbel in the main flow. They like that. But the perch, well, they like this slacker water. And even with this small flow of water here, what I'm fishing is I'm putting the float just in this slacker water. There's a few snags, you can see a few hanging reeds and grasses, and there's a few snags in here anyway, because what will happen when the river's in flood, it will dump all kinds of debris over where my float is. So that's where perch like to hang out. They like to hide there, and as the minnows and small fry fish are there, they can ambush them perfectly. And if you can get a nice juicy lobworm in there and just keep twitching it along, then old Percheroony can't resist that. This is the perfect perch spot. Yep, there you go, that's what we've come for. Not a big perch, but there you go. Very, very simple rig. Lobworm. I'll explain the rig in more detail in a moment. There you go. Not every fish is a monster. Come and have a look at it. There you go. Taylor with an absolute specimen. I'll never live it down, my mates. The rig I'm using today for the perch is very, very simple indeed. What I've done is I've put a straight waggler on, which takes 3 BB. I've locked it up with some shots there. Got a shot halfway down the line, and then I've got a shot that's positioned right on the bottom. As you can see, I'm using a worm, the head of a worm on a size 8 hook. I'm fishing the backwater now, just on the side of the main weir, where I've caught some very big perch in the past, and my old mate Dougal has caught them to £3 on here. Be nice if I could get a fish over £1, £2. I just want to show you the method. The size is really irrelevant. I can't expect a £2 or £3 perch just like that. There's nothing clever in keeping the worms. All I do is when I've collected them off the lawn, I put them in some moss like this, keep them in the fridge nice and cold, and then I transport them in the moss. Those will keep for a few days, no problem at all. If there's any damaged worms or any dead worms, take them out and throw them away, because once you get dead worms in with the live worms, they'll all die. There they are, nice fresh lob worms. All I'm doing is I'm just pinching the head off and putting that on a size 8 hook, and you can see the result. Even small perch are picking that up. You can catch almost any fish you want on that bait. Let's see if we can catch another one. Yes! My God, what am I going to do this time? Certainly not a perch. It's a trout, rainbow trout. Just about shows what you can catch on the worm. You can just about catch anything on the worm. Look at this. I've got to be careful because I'm only on fairly light line. It's behaving. Look at those beautiful colours. He'll be up in a second. Gone in the flow. Here he comes. Not yet. Not yet. It's a cracking rainbow trout, about probably £2 or £3. There he is. Gone into the flow again. Just about shows what you can catch on the worm. Catch just about anything on the worm. You can catch pike, anything. There you go. Oh, straight in the lip. Lovely. Come on. Come on. Come on. Yes. Oh, look at that. A thin, perfect trout. Look at that. Look at that. I'm going to keep my hands off it because this is for the trout fisherman, not me on the worm. Look at that. A beautiful fish. Beautiful fish. Absolutely fabulous. I think we should put that straight back. I'm not going to touch it. All you got to do, keep your hands off it. In with the net. Hold the fish with the net, like so. Let's get the hook perfect. Out it comes. There you go. A lovely rainbow trout. Fin perfect, look at that. Absolutely beautiful. Let's get him back into the oxygen water. Okay. Beautiful fish. That's a real bonus. I know there's a few brownies in the river, but I didn't think there were many rainbows. I think they're probably escapees from the trout farm. If you look at the float, what I actually do to try and induce a take with a perch, that worm is on the bottom, but by simply turning the reel handle a couple of times, just like that, you're twitching the bait along the bottom. Very often if you leave, look at that, there you go, yep, see how I twitch that bait and I'm straight into a fish. Sometimes a perch will look at it for absolutely ages, and then suddenly you twitch the bait and suddenly you're into a perch. Little fish, but bonny little fighters these. Look at this. They're slowly getting bigger, slowly getting bigger. There we go. Did you notice how I twitched that bait then? What I actually did was the perch comes down to the bait and he's sitting there, and all of a sudden you twitch. It's a bit like a cat. Suddenly you twitch the bait away from it, bang, he's got it. Okay? And that induces a take, and there's the proof of the pudding. Again, not a big perch, but these methods could produce you a 3 pound, 4 pound perch. Look at that. Not a big fish, but a perfect perch. It's nice to see the perch back in numbers. Look at that, absolutely fin perfect, smashing tail, no ulcers, no perch disease. Let's get it back. Right, let's have a look at this swim. Get the old Polaroid glasses on. What we've got here is sandstone rock, and about halfway across the river, coming this way towards me, we've got a solid rock face. Then it plunges down to about 5 foot. Then we've got about 2 yards of about 4 or 5 foot, and then we've got another sandstone ledge up. So what we've actually got is this gorge running down, and the gorge runs down about, oh crikey, about 20 feet, maybe even 30 feet. We'll start feeding at the top of the gorge, and if you can see there, I can actually see with Polaroid glasses, I don't know if you can see, but there's actually barbel turning over. You can actually see the bronze shapes of the barbel turning over in the swim. So what we're going to start doing is I'm going to start feeding the head of the gorge first and try and bring the fish up to them. I'm not going down to the bottom of the gorge and sling the feeder straight into the shoal. If we hook a fish then, we could disperse the shoal. What I'm going to try and do is get the shoal to move up to the bait and try to get the fish off the head of the shoal. These are the 3 methods I'm going to use today on feeder fishing. So here we go. This one is an inline feeder, which means it's a Dinsmore feeder with a hole that passes straight the way through the feeder, as you can see. The line passes straight the way through, a shocker bead, then a swivel, then the hook length. Now that hook length can actually be brought even to that length here. Very often when the barbel is shaking the feeder and you're getting very trembly bites on top of the rod tip, sometimes it pays to come very short to the feeder so they're actually picking up the maggots around the feeder. So that's one that I shall be using today. That's the inline feeder. Now the second one, which I don't think I shall be using today, although I will show it you. And the reason that I'm going to show it you, it's a very, very popular way of fishing, and that's the loop method. What it involves is, as you see, a loop, and the feeder is actually on the loop. You see it? On that loop. Let me just get the loop for you. There's the loop, and it actually is in the loop. Now at the end of the loop, there's another loop which stops it coming down to the hook length loop, which is this one. So it comes down to there, stopped, and then all you do then is in here, you put the hook length. That's called the loop method. It's a very, very good method. The only problem is in rocks, which this swim is full of rocks, that loop can get onto rocks, so I shan't be using that today. I shall be using a very, very simple method, and as anyone knows, if you've watched my videos before or you've read my articles, I'm all for the simple way. Mine's just a standard feeder. There's an 1.5 ounce lead on there. It's running straight on the line, down to a rubber shock bead, which pushes nicely over the knot, a swivel, and then I will tie my hook length on. I'm not tying my hook length on yet, because what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to set up there in the swim, and I'm going to probably feed for about 15 minutes, maybe half an hour, and put bait in without hooking a fish. I'm going to get that bait into the swim, I'm going to get those fish confident, and then when they're flashing and feeding, put on the hook length and hopefully catch a fish. So what I'm going to do, set the rod rests up, get in the swim and start feeding the swim. Okay? Right, let's show you the layout of the swim. Fairly simple setup. What I've got is a high rod rest with a butterfly rod rest on the top, so that keeps the rod high in the air, the line at the river. A Drennan backrest in there, so that's my setup. I've got the landing net ready for action, hopefully. I've got a matchman's apron on. A lot of specialist anglers won't put these on for some reason because they look like match anglers. I don't know why, because it makes feeding into the feeder so that much simpler. It's unbelievable. Use mine all the time on rivers, whether I'm float fishing or feeder fishing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to fill the feeder, no hook, fill it up, in we go, like so, and put it in the swim. All those are going to empty into the swim and get those fish confident. That's the whole point of this exercise at the moment. No hooking fish. Don't go in too early, don't hook the fish too early. Get the confidence first. Here we go. Straight into the gorge. Let it sink to the bottom. Empty the maggots out. Wait about 10 seconds. I'm actually having knocks. Would you believe I'm actually having knocks on the feeder and there's no hook there? I'm actually having bites. That just goes to prove how many times you can be striking when you think you've had a bite and you're not having a bite at all. Those barbel are coming up to the feeder and actually pulling the bait out of the feeder. I'm actually having takes now. I'm going to do this for 20 minutes or so. I'm going to sort of put probably a pint of bait in there. The amount of people that bring 2 pints of bait to catch some barbel all day, it's impossible. I'll put that in before I start. If you want to catch a barbel, they're very, very greedy fish, use plenty of bait. There you go, straight into the same spot. I'm feeding the top of the gorge first. Out! Can you believe that? That's a dogfish. They're quite rare here, but we have a few. Mainly at Aberystwyth, but there is a few dogfish here. Okay, let's have the first cast of the day. We've fed the swim. Hopefully they've gone down on the bait. Earlier we could see a few fish sort of just showing the flanks, and now we can't see anything. Hopefully they might just have sunk down on the bottom after the bait. So we'll put a couple of maggots on, fill the feeder and see what's happening down there. First cast of the day, let's see what we can do. Into the gorge. Now that's a proper bite. Yep, that's better. This will do for me. Never underestimate a barbel. One of the points that I always say to people, that you go to net them too early and look at that, turn over and bang, you can lose the fish. He's not ready, not far off. Whoa. There you go, wrong again. Let's see if we can get his nose up this time. No chance. Let's see if we're ready. No, not yet. Maybe this time. Maybe this time. Maybe this time. There you go. Sweet as a nut. Lovely. Not so big. Look at that, fin perfect, absolutely fabulous. Let's get him back in the water. It's a warm day, not too long out the water. Let's just put him back in there. A little rest in there and then we'll put him back. Okay, just keep the feed going in. That's the secret with this feeder fishing. Right down the gorge. Although I'm using maggots today, just maggots in the feeder and maggot on the hook. Hempen casters are equally as successful on the right day. But at this period in time at the moment, we're catching a lot more barbel on the maggot. So we're doing sort of straight maggot. 2 on a 16, 3 on a 14, 3 or 4 on a 12. And they're going for the white maggot. Flavoured maggot there. Oh, just pulled out of one then. Just pulled out. That was a good take. Another feeder full right in the gorge, right where it counts. Here we go. There you go. Right in the gorge. Back on the rest. That's stuck straight in the gorge. That's a good fish. Good fish. Straight out into the current now, look at that. Straight out into the current. Tremendous scrappers. Tremendous fish. Here we go. I don't think you'll be far away this time. Come on, my old girl. Come on, my old girl. No, 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 he says. No, no, no. Not yet. Not. Come on, girl. I'm going to bend into this. There she goes. There she blows. There she blows. Have a look at the eating mouth of that. Look at that. There you go. Like Lawrence Blakespeare said, even a small fish like that, look at the piece of luncheon meat, he can get down there. Come on, let's get him back. Away. As you notice, we're using light lines, we're using small hooks, 14s, 16s, but we're having no trouble with these fish. And Midland anglers, like myself, have been using these small hooks for good fish, well into double figures for a few years now. It's just a matter of balance, Tattle. You get the right rod, the right line, and away you go. You can land some tremendous fish. I know a lot of people will think that barbel should be caught on 6s and 8s. Well, I use that for the meat, but the presentation on a maggot, to be perfectly honest, too big a hook. And unless it's at night, which a lot of people don't want to fish at night, then it's quite hard to get a bite on a size 6 or 8 hook, when on a 16 you're getting sport like this. There we go. Another absolutely smashing fish. That's took it well down. They're really having it now. I'm going to put that back. Come on, my old beaut. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Come on. Go on. Get back home. Back home. Come on. There you go. Out there to fight another day. I absolutely love doing this, picking the species you want to catch. There you go, a lovely perch. Not a big fish, but again, as I say, I'm showing methods here that can catch big fish. Another bonny little perch. Look at that, eh? Fabulous fish. One of the prettiest fishes you can see in the river. Absolutely bonny, look at that. Absolutely fabulous. They're getting bigger. That's twice as big as the last one. Let's see if we can get one twice as big as this one. Yes, and another one. Oh dear. Come on out. Come on out. There you go. The twitch did it again. I seem to have a shoal of smaller perch here at the moment. There you go, perfectly hooked, look. Absolutely perfectly hooked. There you go. Whoop. And the hooks come out. That's great. Perfect little fish. I'll repeat again, although these are only small fish, this method will get you a lot of big fish. Let's put that back. Yep. It is, look at this. Whoa, full of fight. Look at the spinner. He's going to do a jumpy in a minute. On this little rod, is fighting fantastic. Fighting fantastic. There it is. Old pike ruby. Cool. I'm going to hand land that. Spinner's showing. You see the hooks on the mouth? If I actually landed that now with a net, I'd get all sorts of catch stuff. So what I'm going to do is, let me show you how to unhook it. Up you go like that. Forceps in. Let me just get it round like so. Look at that, perfect. Perfect. There you go. There you go. Look at that. I'll just put that in the keep net for a few minutes. Look at that, perfect little pike. Again, you see the way I'm sort of hopping from swim to swim, fish to fish. And who said pike hurt you? Look at that, he don't bite you. Fabulous fish. That was the lure I caught it on. Really, I'd put it on to catch a perch, but it actually caught that small pike. It's a Voblex, it's got a rubber head, and that spins round like so. They love it. Let's see if I can catch another one. That's another small pike. See, you fish for different things. You can't catch a pike, then all of a sudden you're into a couple. Only small fish, but it doesn't matter. As I say, just opportunist fishing every time. small jack. There you go. Let's look this one again. There you go. Same spinner. Change the spinner and got 2 fish straight away. There you go. Slightly bigger. Look at that. Beautiful, huh? Fantastic. Well, here I am back at the weir pool, hopefully going to catch a bigger chub and a bigger barbel than last time. But that's the nice thing about this kind of fishing. You can just keep scooting round from one type of fishing to another. Although over the last couple of days we've only caught small fish, certainly the next fish could be a monster. It could be a 6-pound chub, it could be a 10-pound barbel, a 3-pound perch, whatever. But isn't that what fishing's all about? Wondering what that next fish is going to be. I'll catch you next time round.